Hey, good morning, everyone. Josh with Severe Weather. Happy Monday, January the 29th. I hope you all are having a great week so far. We've got some interesting weather coming up here in the next week. After some extreme warmth, we are seeing a taste back of reality here over the next several days. Colder air returns to the central and eastern United States, and a big storm moving into the west coast here this week is something I think we're going to be tracking here in about a week for some potential to put down some wintry precipitation, including snow here in portions of the southeast. Now it's a week out, so things are probably going to change some, but this is the area I've got highlighted that is at least in the area to watch here for the next day. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. First, let's take a quick peek at the infrared satellite. And you can see a lot of the country is actually pretty clear right now. We do have a storm system over the New England region, which is exiting stage right. That's produced some light to moderate snow for most of the higher elevations and a few light amounts here near the coast, but that's going to be heading out, bringing just a little bit of light snow to the Great Lakes region and the Appalachians here today. We do have another storm system dropping southeast, not a big one here, but one certainly to talk about. And you can see, let me get my pen out here. That system is right here and diving southeast, and that will produce a light snowfall here in the Great Lakes region and then drop down and produce some light rainfall across the mid-Atlantic, maybe some mountain snow as well here tomorrow night into early Wednesday. But the storm that I'm going to be watching for you guys has yet to move into the country here from the Pacific. You see, there's actually an atmospheric river aimed at the northwest. That is going to drop south and east with time and bring significant precipitation into California here later this week. After it does that, it is likely to take a track across the southern US, and colder air is scheduled to drop down into the east. So we do have a feed of colder air. And as the two link up here by Sunday night into Monday, there's certainly going to be an opportunity here, not just for some cold rain, but maybe some mixed precipitation or even snow. So that's what I'm going to be tracking for you guys here coming up. Right now, we see a relatively quiet map, some fog advisories over the upper Mississippi Valley. We do have still some winter weather advisories and warnings over the higher elevations across New England, but these should probably start to get discontinued as the day wears on. And we do have advisories over the southern Appalachians, where we will see some more snow here today into tonight as that colder air continues to pour down from the Great Lakes in eastern Canada and allows moisture to build up the mountainside and produce some snowfall here. But overall, pretty quiet map for the time being. You can see our storm exiting here around lunchtime across New England, just some light snows expected. Then our next system drops southward across the upper Great Lakes later tonight. This is about 2 in the morning Central Time. We are going to see a band of some snow moving through the UP of Michigan and upper Michigan, and then dropping down into lower Michigan here. Which will add some misery to those in Detroit after what happened yesterday, but it is coming. And here comes the light snow for tomorrow morning across southeastern Michigan, moving into eastern and northern Ohio. A little bit of wintry precipitation possible here. Not wintry, mixed precipitation. So there could be a little bit of ice or a little bit of a kind of a mix of rain and snow here across portions of Indiana and Ohio around lunchtime tomorrow, but very light at this point. Really, the snow is what we're watching. And this continues to drop down into West Virginia and Western Virginia and into the Smoky Mountains here tomorrow night, early on Wednesday. A pretty light snowfall for the mountains, but it is going to drop down here and maybe produce a little bit of rain as well across the mid-Atlantic region early Wednesday. Then attention focuses on the West Coast here. Lots of rain getting ready to move into the Northern California region here, and that's going to drop down the coast Wednesday into Thursday. Not looking good at Pebble Beach for the tour event here later this week, unfortunately, but that is what we're looking at. This is the upper level pattern, and you can see it is still a very warm look. We do have this trough digging down into the eastern United States, but it is going to continue to turn more unsettled as we head into early February. And you can see the bright colors indicating ridging aloft, warmer air aloft, shutting off the winter weather machine. That is going to yield to a much more unsettled pattern here over the western U.S. this weekend, and then across the southern U.S. and the east as we head into next week. And this has a storm signal in place for it. The big question mark is how much cold air gets fed into it. And outside the mountains right now, that is going to be the big question mark for next week. But it is what we're going to be talking about here for several days because it is notable. We haven't really had a pattern like this for a while, especially after last week. And as we get into next Monday here, this is kind of a favorable look to some winter weather over parts of the southeast. Again, it's a week away, so things are going to shuffle a little bit in one direction or the other. We're going to see some variation in models, but we do have something that is certainly going to be on the map here. And the big question mark is, where are we going to see the snowfall? That moves out, and then we see quieter weather, and then it turns cold again around around President's Day, Valentine's Day, President's Day, that weekend. This actually favors more of an East Coast storm signal. Again, I say signal. This doesn't mean snow for New York or Philly or DC. It could very well be rain with snow in the interior. We've seen that a million times. But the signal is in place here for a return of colder air, and likely some form of winter storm here by the middle of the month, 15th, 16th. And it stays unsettled right on through the end of February. We are below average. So we're paying for last week's weather here quite a bit here through the month of February, it looks like. Here's a look at our temperature forecast. And this is the anomaly. This is the departure from average. And you can see right now the amount of cool air this week with respect to average is pretty limited just to the southeast. So Florida is turning a lot colder. It was in the 80s in Orlando last week. I was sweating my face off. It was ridiculous. Now we're going to see 40s and 50s in the mornings here over the next couple of days. So a huge switch coming. As the week wears on, we see that cooler than average weather continuing to build northward. So the cold air is settling in, and much of the east turns cooler for the upcoming week. The west coast also cooler. And really our significant warmth is over the prairies and the northern plains with respect to average. This is actually what you would expect to see during a moderately strong El Nino. Looking at above average temperatures, shutting off the winter weather here for most of the north central US and central Canada, and then attacks on the west coast and on the southeast, with very active weather tracking through the southern United States. As the month wears on, you can see it's going to be a tug of war. We may get a little bit milder before we get colder again, but overall, this definitely is more encouraging for winter weather farther south for the second half of the month of February. Here's a look at snow potential here, and you see it around the Great Lakes and the Appalachians here the next couple of days. Then big snow expected in the Sierra Nevada and in the Cascades later this week, maybe even close to the LA mountains here by Friday, and then moving into the interior of the West. These are the probabilities that we're going to see measurable snow over an inch in 24 hours. And obviously, they're pretty high across the Rocky Mountains, as you would expect here on Friday. On Saturday and Sunday, we see that storm kind of dropping through the eastern US. And now we're going to start to see some climbing potential across the mid-Atlantic region on Monday next week. And again, this is going to shift some. This is looking at all the ensemble members, taking the average of them and showing the potential for some accumulating snow. And if you're in the southeast, this is definitely a signal for you. But it is still about a week away. So things are going to shift somewhat. Here's a look at the GEFS. I was going to see if I can find the newest run here. There we go. And you can see, obviously, the mountains have the best chance of seeing accumulating snow. Outside the mountains, though, there is a chance. And that carries into Georgia, Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, even South Carolina. And I've seen this this shift a little bit back and forth here, but next Monday is the timeline for it to happen. You can see yesterday's model was actually feeding in colder air than what today's model average is. Now it could switch back to that. So we are not writing off the storm completely. The signal is still there. The big question mark is, will the feed of cold air be there? Or are we just dealing with a nasty cold rain? And I don't have the answer to that yet. So that is what I'm tracking for you guys. I brought you into this video to just make you aware that the potential is there, but we still have several days before we're going to be able to fine tune any details on it. So it's just to stay tuned at this point. We are going to see rain across the southeast. It could be pretty heavy. Florida looks pretty miserable here early next week. A cold rain, which may mix with some form of wintry precipitation, even into the eastern Carolinas here by next Monday. Here's the European ensemble, and I'm going to show you it's not just the GFS showing the signal. Here we go, heading into next Monday and Tuesday, or Monday and Monday night. We see that signal in place over portions of the Carolinas and the Southeast. This is 24 hours ending Monday afternoon next week. And you can see the signal does start to dissipate a little bit, but it's still there across Virginia and West Virginia. So right now, that's the area we're going to keep an eye on. This could grow, that could shrink, but nonetheless, there's a chance at this point. And don't completely rule out the chance for some flakes in parts of Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, maybe northern Louisiana. I mean, again, this is a week away, so I've seen this change. But right now, there's still some uncertainty in where things are going to line up. I'm not going to look at that one today. Here's the GFS model. Again, the operational model showing our upper level feature dropping southeast here tomorrow night, bringing some light snowfall into the Great Lakes first, and then into West Virginia and into the Carolinas in the mountains, that is, by late Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning. That system heads offshore. It is dropping southeast, getting pushed by a bigger area of high pressure. So that system has no chance of moving up the East Coast. It's getting suppressed. Here's the next storm system moving into the west. You see it sliding down the coast. The central California coast gets absolutely crushed with heavy rain here Wednesday into Wednesday night. The Sierra Nevada will see several feet of snow for the middle of the week. And then LA Basin, San Diego, we do have a potential to see some flooding again in Southern California as we get into Thursday morning. So this could be a pretty significant storm there. That low pressure region moves into New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma early on this weekend, Friday night into Saturday. We could see some pretty heavy rain in the same exact places, but it will be a cooler storm system. And then as we get into the weekend, the later part of the weekend here, we just see rain at this point. We do have a high pressure bringing cold air down the East Coast, but you can see there's some question as to how cold it gets. This very well could be an elevational snow, and it could be a heavy wet snow in the elevations due to the colder air aloft. But if this upper level feature moves a little bit farther northeast, we're only talking a couple hundred miles, then a lot of this area is actually going to be dealing with sleet and snow rather than rain. So it is certainly on the table at this point. We're not ruling it out just because one model run or a few model runs say it's just rain. The signal is there. And then after that moves out, we are going to warm back up briefly here later next week as high pressure builds back in. So we do get another bit of a thaw. It's crazy. I'm in Raleigh here, and the dogwoods are already in bloom here at the end of January. In an El Nino winter, I didn't expect something like that to happen, but it is happening. And I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening in February as we see a much chillier air mass in place over the central and eastern states. This is the Madden-Julian oscillation, and we are heading into a colder favor. You see this, the blue and the green here. This is where we're at right now, moving into phase 7. Everything on the western half of this chart indicates colder than average air in place across the central and eastern U.S. So we are trending back in a colder direction. We were in a very warm phase for a couple of weeks here, and now we're heading much colder again as we head through the end of the month of January, especially into February. This has been talked about for several weeks, but I still want to show it to you guys so you can kind of see how things circulate across the earth. And the forecast is for us to be in colder phases overall for the month of February. But one signal we really want to see in place for something to happen in the southeast is the Pacific North American oscillation. And when that is positive, then we have a pretty good shot at seeing that much colder air feed into the eastern US. It does stay positive right on through about the 6th or 7th of February. It's not extremely positive, but we want to see this trending a little bit more positive for us to see a better shot at some wintry precipitation in the southeast. If it were negative, we would be writing this off. We would say outside the mountains, this is just going to be a rainfall. But the fact that it's actually trending back up a little bit here around 4th, 5th, and 6th of February is at least somewhat encouraging for me. The other thing too here, this is the jet stream bringing the atmospheric river into the west coast here. This was a couple days ago, and you can see it getting ready to batter California here Wednesday and Thursday. We see it breaking up, and we'll see some cooler air dropping down. This is what's called an omega block, and it allows some cooler air to sneak in here. This is early next week, and you can see if the jet stream were lined up from Texas to the East Coast, this would be a severe weather event. But the fact that it's dipping down into Florida allows that colder air to drop in, and that is giving us some more favor for some wintry weather. So again, the signal's still looking pretty good at this point. We'll talk about rain here, and we can see some moderate rainfall expected from the Great Lakes down into the Carolinas. This will be snow across the Great Lakes. This is the next 2 days. And then take a look at the West Coast. We are going to see extremely heavy rain, southern Oregon, northern and central Cal, eventually southern Cal, late Wednesday night and Thursday. That system is going to draw moisture out of the Gulf here over the weekend. Significant rain expected in the exact same places that got it last week. Florida is going to turn wet. And the European says this gets suppressed a little bit, but there's a chance, of course, it comes back north early next week. Here's a look at what the European is spitting out as far as rainfall totals. And we can see here pretty significant totals here across Vancouver Island and British Columbia. But I want you to focus your attention on California, where 3 to 5 inches of rain looks to be possible in northern Cal, the Bay Area, 1 to 3 inches. And southern Cal has a potential to see over an inch of rain with locally higher amounts up against the mountains. So this has a potential flood event scenario here for us across the west. In the east, Not a super wet week. We are going to see light precipitation Tuesday night into Wednesday, and this is going to drop through the Carolinas, and then we'll be done. And then we're going to wait on the weekend system here, which brings the potential to see 2, 3, maybe 4 inches of rain. Places like Slidell and Mandeville, which had 8 inches of rain last week, have another 4 inches on our table potentially here for this weekend. And then we see that shifting into the southeast. And I do think this is going to move farther north, but we're going to have to wait and see. In my opinion, the European, some of these global models are pushing this cold air too far south and stretching the system out. I don't think it comes up the East Coast, but I think it ends up a little farther north into Virginia and North Carolina. But again, we're going to have to wait and see on that one. Here are snow amounts across Michigan, generally about an inch, less than an inch over Ohio, and then a few inches here across the Appalachians, potentially 6 for the highest mountains here. Then the system moves out. We are going to see a little bit of snow across northern New England, eastern Canada here Thursday into Friday, and then a break early in the weekend. And then we're going to keep an eye on what happens down south here after that. So I want to end things now, getting over something after traveling. Let's save some voice for tomorrow. But again, folks, it's a signal. We are not forecasting something yet a week out, just a signal. But obviously, you're going to want to stay tuned here to see how this evolves. It could end up being nothing. I've seen that happen many times. We saw that. Ironically, last February, we saw something exactly like this, a cold storm that looked like it was going to dump a ton of rain. The difference is that last year was La Nina, this year's El Nino, and that can make it a little bit of a difference for us. So share with your friends if you could, but if everybody could just bring one person right back here to watch, I'm going to do my very best to provide you guys with a quality product here, quality videos from a degreed meteorologist here in the Carolinas. So I appreciate y'all's time. I glorify God and give him all the glory for every day. It's a blessing to be able to get on here and share my gift with you guys. And I thank God for it every day. You may not believe in God, but I do. I believe that he sent his son to die on the cross so that we can live eternally. Philippians 2:13 says, "For it is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Do all things without murmurings and disputings." And this is good pleasure. It's when you realize it's not about you, but it's about God, and you've been given a gift, then the joy is there. And I have that joy, and I just can't hold it back anymore. I do this all in good pleasure. There's no murmurings, no disputings, no, well, if this had happened or that had happened. No, this is God blessing me so that I can bless you guys. So if you have any prayer requests, I will take some time out of my day to pray for you. And please, if you feel led to, don't be ashamed to list those. I am happy to pray for you guys. If you want to pray for me as well, I'd appreciate that. But I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, and I look forward to catching back up with you tomorrow. Take care.